Hey book buddies, I found the Edge of Reading book tag on fellow booktuber, authortuber Grix etc. and wanted to do my own video on it. I will link to the original video in the description for anyone interested in checking it out and finding where this book tag came from. It is a set of 10 questions, so let's begin. Give me your own definition of reading, or use mine. Sure, let's use yours. The following is taken from the video. Reading is the act of interpretation of symbols that, systematically put together in a certain sequence, allows the reader to extract meaning from them in an active form of creation that can develop into complex narratives. Given your chosen definition, are reading and interpretation the same thing? If not, in what do they differ? They are not the same thing. I would say reading is an exploratory act. We know how the text can be interpreted, but not how the text should be interpreted unless we have the fullness of the text, which may not be of any more help. Look at these two words. Now I'll tag them, and you just read two different words, wind and wind. In mystery novels and will they won't they stories, for example, the uncertainty is the experience readers are looking for. The fun is in the misinterpretation until the ultimate reveal, which lends more to the two being different. Last example. Let's say you write something in your teens, and at the time, you think it's the best ever. 10 years later, you look back on it and you want to put it away for another 10 years. The read is the same, but the interpretation is not. Are there any practices that you consider reading, but that would fit that or other definitions of reading? A well-defined tool is particularly useful for whatever it's made for. If a new tool is just as useful or more so, and it's more convenient, then that specialized tool is on the decline. We have neologisms, and we have words that fall out of use, so much so as to call them archaic. Do we want to extend the meaning of reading? Doing so might muddy its meaning to conflate into obscurity. Instead, it might be better to just keep the literal use of the word and, where appropriate, identify the figurative uses of the word. Like, for example, read the room. If I said to someone I was in homeroom reading, the message taken might be the literal one and not the figurative one. Usefulness at the cost of clarity is a juggling act, and the figurative use, so convenient as it is, doesn't need reassurance. But the literal does, or it'll be forgotten. Is there an ideal reading experience for you? What is it? Is there a book that represents it? Yes, there is. For me, an ideal reading experience would be having the work and speaking directly with the author about the work. Line by line, being able to get everything I would ever want from the source would be amazing. There are books that hint at this and show a glimmer of the inspired author. You might find annotated editions of the works of William Shakespeare, Edgar Allan Poe, J.R.R. Tolkien, and so on, but they'll never go into the details with the tangents I might find interesting. If there is such a thing as an ideal reading experience, it follows that there is a scale of value to reading. What is at the bottom? At the bottom, you might reason that being so far from the author or authors of a work would be such a thing. However, it really is a normal condition with reading. All we have left are the legacies of past authors. For those alive, there's even a discussion for and against death of the author. You might reason this and be wrong. Why? Because the ideal and the worst are often incompatible. If the author's past are not available to indulge me in my reading, I would still want them to do so. The want is still there. Therefore, the worst is getting what you want. Once I have the author with me on a read, and I have sucked the last bit of marrow from the text, and there's nothing more to learn, then that would be the end of it. When a book has no wonder or mystery, and nothing further can be had from it, that's the bottom for me. Is there a book on that bottom that you love or enjoyed as much as those on the top? I would like to think that if I exhausted interest in a book, I might have enjoyed it very much, or well enough during that read. I could attempt to reread and again gain that joy from before, but instead, having a thorough understanding already could be of help to others reading the same title. And in the discourse, I might find some point or passage from another's viewpoint to consider, and perhaps ask the author again. Joy. Is reading as the art of associating symbols and creating meaning out of them a predecessor of language, or does it come after as a consequence of those languages? There is a strong case for the latter. Buffalo, 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 buffalo. This sentence is correctly constructed, by the way, and can be found in Dmitri Borgman's book Beyond Language, Adventures in Word and Thought, published in 1976. If anyone wants to argue the reverse, please do. Is everything that can be read with meaning a language? That which can be read and that which has meaning are not the same. As an example, if you haven't read it before, I'll put a link to Jabberwocky, a poem by Lewis Carroll, which is readable, but not very much meaningful when it was published in 1871. If you want, here's a more recent example. Mention a few languages that defy the conventional conception of a language. Could a book be written in any of those languages? Well, what is the conventional conception of a language? We have machine languages that work with just ones and zeros. We have linguists examining context-free languages. Who knows what else? And so on and so on. All very formal. Let's consider the English language. If we can argue semantics, the meaning, and we can argue syntax, the grammar, should we then consider our spoken language the unconventional one? Last question. If you could boundlessly read, understand the meaning in one of those languages, which one would it be? Why? An unconventional language, or instead an esoteric one? Think about this. What is the purpose of communication? In what instance would communication be unnecessary? Well, if the other party knows completely what I want to convey, then it would not be necessary, right? If not, we have a difference to overcome. To communicate is to transmit, hopefully, towards an accordance. Language is the form or vehicle for the intent. That is how one language can serve the myriad things we wish to communicate. If I could understand an obscure language, that really wouldn't be enough. Someone else has to know it as well to make it work. All right, that's the end of the tag. Great questions. I would like to thank again Grix ETC and invite you to check out his channel. Link in the description. This was fun. Bye.